Riot announced recently that they'll begin to record voice comms in Valorant to help train AI to combat toxicity. For some people, toxicity is just an unavoidable problem in video games, but is Riot taking a step too far to help keep the Valorant streets clean? Let's talk about it. I know it's been a while since I've been here with y'all on Don't At Me, but I am back. But you also might have noticed there have been a bunch of changes to my studio. That's because we partnered with our friends over at Elgato. They sent me a bunch of stuff and upgraded a bunch of my equipment, including this new mic arm that doesn't creak and make lots of noise and just is the worst to maneuver like my last one. So a huge thank you and shout out to them. While I was watch partying the VCT, Riot was cooking a little something up for us Valorant scrubs. If you've played Valorant or any video game, you might have been on the receiving end of some conversations that were annoyingly rude or incredibly problematic. And I'm sure you've only been on the receiving end because you guys would never ever be toxic, right? Not my theScore esports viewers. Regardless if you've been on the receiving or hypothetically dispensing end, Riot has seen and heard enough. Riot announced that starting July 13th, they will begin a background launch of the voice evaluation system in North America /English only to help train our language models and get the tech in a good enough place for a beta launch this year. To put it simply, they're going to be listening to players' voice comms to help train their AI to accurately detect toxicity. Now, if this is ringing any bells, Riot has talked about this before. All the way back in April 30th, 2021, a month before I graduated college, Riot talked about updating their privacy policy for this exact reason. You know, the privacy policy, the thing you pretend to read with literally everything you sign up for. Anyways, Riot wrote that, and bear with me on this is a long one, quote, "The update to our privacy notice allows us to record and potentially evaluate voice data when using Riot-owned voice comms channels. When a player submits a report for disruptive or offensive behavior in voice comms, the relevant audio data will be stored in your account's registered region and evaluated to see if our behavior agreement was violated. If a violation is detected, we'll take action. After the data has been made available to the player in violation and is no longer needed for reviews, the data will be deleted, similar to how we currently handle text-based chat reports. No violation is detected, or if no report is filed in a timely manner, the data will be deleted." One important thing to note is that other Riot titles, essentially everything related to League of Legends, does not have any plans to adopt something like this. A little more recently, back in February, Riot talked in depth about toxicity in Valorant and what they've been doing to combat it. Part of their system has always relied on player reports. I'm sure you've all been in games where the enemy team types something in all chat asking you to report a specific player. Now, sometimes it's a joke because they whipped on a clutch and you see an all chat report our jet for throwing, but sometimes it's because they are hurling slurs at their team. These reports are desired by Riot because they say they actively track and use that data to administer punishments. All of us have comms ratings so that if we are notorious bad guys in the server, they know that and they can deal with us. I'm sure all of us have reported someone for toxicity, but sometimes I wonder when I see player feedback received and someone was punished, why my other reports didn't get someone punished. Riot made it clear that not everyone who gets reported gets punished because that would be prime grounds for trolls, but they look for repeat offenders. Then there's also the zero tolerance policy that has been in place, which is essentially one strike and then after that match, you're out. Muted words are their next line of defense. You manually put in what you don't want to see, which they said they plan on using in the quote, automatic detection in future iterations of the system. They go into talking about chat mute and how restrictions/bans have been issued and talk about how they want in the future to include harsher punishments, real-time text moderations, voice moderation, and the Turkish zero tolerance program, Alarmbot. Yeah, you heard me right, real-time text moderation and real-time zero tolerance ejections. What does this have to do with recording our voice comms? Well, Valorant is toxic. And water is wet. More news at 11. I am pretty confident when I say that almost everyone watching this video has dealt with something that has been harmful. And if you're one of those people that says, I've never dealt with toxic people, or y'all never would have survived COD lobbies back in my day, take a quick look in the mirror, babe. I'll wait. But in order to deal with the problem that has been brought up again and again and again, Riot is going to take the step to record voice comms. Unfortunately, we have reached a point where Riot believes further steps need to be taken in order to make the game enjoyable. Because what this looks like is that plain old reports that we had been using aren't the best option anymore, or at least aren't working as well as they'd hoped. Now, there have been concerns about privacy. This is kind of a giant data thing. And like this Reddit user brought up, speaking about Riot and how they could use the comms to create data profiles and use the comms for commercial purposes. A lead designer from one of the teams responded to this by saying, "You're right that there's a lot of interesting things you could do in theory with this data, but ultimately we're not in that business. Making a business out of player data puts that at risk and of course is super icky without consent, and if I'm being honest, a little icky to me even with consent. I expect I would almost certainly lose my job if I tried to push for us to do what you're describing. Rightfully so, as it wouldn't be the right mentality for what we do. We really do just want to make Valorant a safer and more pleasant experience here. Personally, as a woman, yes, I'm using that card, write your angry comments now, I would like to feel safe in the community of a game that I play, enjoy, and have elected to make my life's work. However, do I like the idea of my voice being recorded and used for a bot? I honestly don't know. What price am I willing to pay for safety and sanity? A complete or even partial lack of privacy? I don't know the answer to that yet. Then there's that conspiracy part of me that thinks, well, what's next? While I'm inclined to believe that designer from Reddit, I'm also no fool. I'm no means trying to say Riot will sell our data, but hypothetically, if they did in the future, they would not be the first company to do so. All of this being said, am I being a bit hypocritical in saying all this while talking about the game that has Vanguard as part of the deal for downloading it? There are very few cheaters in Valorant, and it's because of Vanguard literally sitting there while I play Genshin Impact or literally do anything else. It's that kernel level access.
That system is called Vanguard. It downloads with Valorant, asks you to restart your computer, and then runs on startup from then on out, even when you're not playing Valorant. This thing is just always chugging along in the background, and for some people, that's pretty unsettling. There's been a lot of backlash about just how intrusive this program is, and whether or not that level of invasiveness is necessary in an anti-cheat program. People all over the internet have been calling this a breach of privacy, and many are looking at Riot and Tencent, the company that owns them in China, who are also very close with the Chinese government, and questioning their motives.
That is also a breach of privacy in my opinion. Yeah, I may not be collecting any data, but it's still just sitting there while I do anything else, but I still play Valorant every single night. Regardless, this is the solution Riot has come up with. And honestly, it goes farther than I thought any studio would go to keep their community clean. How successful it will be and will other studios follow suit? Well, that all remains to be seen. We have less than a week until this is implemented, until Valorant changes forever and there's no more toxicity. Yeah, well, a girl can hope. Until then, as I'm sure you already do, keep it clean and keep it fun. It's literally just a game. Hear me out. What if on the date when this is implemented, we just start all speaking in ASMR? We're just like, welcome back to my, welcome back to my Valorant comms. Hard push B. Like it's just ridiculous. And the bot, or like whoever is like there working with the bot is just like, huh? Like,